Alright gang, it's finally the end. We are at the combination. It's time to form Quantron. Now I've gone ahead and kept 3 of the guys in vehicle mode simply because it's easier to get them into their limb modes from the vehicles, with this guy as his robot mode and Metal Storm in robot mode. So we're going to start off with Metal Storm and go from there. First order of business is taking these 2 units that acted as, well, launchers on his feet and come to the front of them and open them up and then pull out Quantron's hands. So do that on both sides. Close up the little gold parts here, or as closed as they will get, and then reach back there and pull up the ankles. Now it's very important that you remember, or you realize that each ankle goes with one bot in particular. We'll be covering that when we do the feet. So put these off to the side, put the fists off to the side, and let's go with Metal Storm. Start off with, we're just going to do a basic transformation. Fold or pull that section out, pull the chest and torso up out of the way, and then just start with the perfectly normal transformation. So fold up the fists, take the sections like that and move them in. Turn the entire sections inward, thusly. Flip the combiner head around and put that into place. Flip these sections in the front of the shoulders up. Then collapse the shoulders into the front like that. And then these sections that are the arms will fold up and connect into place. Then for the legs, take the feet and push them straight down like this. Take the wings and fold them out. This is actually a little bit harder to do because of the way the wings are. Whoops. And pop pieces off. Don't worry, that happens. And they go right back on. Then we're going to take the wings and the legs and turn them 180 so that the back parts are facing forward. And then these legs will slide straight down into the shins. So we want to go ahead and do that, which is actually the hardest part of this transformation. In order to do it, you kind of have to reach behind the piece and pull it out and then flip it up or hinge it up. So I get behind the plastic and push it out away from the leg, and that will free it enough so that we can push it up into place. And then we've got the rear feet. Just got to get them in position, which, like a lot of things on this guy, are just easier said than done. And you have a tendency to pop ball joints all over this guy when you're transforming him into this mode. And getting the ball joints back into place is not easy and can be kind of painful, in all honesty. So we get that up and out of the way. Get the big section here and snap that into place. And then we have to take the wings and then flip them back around and collapse them. So there we go. Torso ready to go. Next up is Blindfire. Normally I start this off by putting the legs together. You don't have to, but I like to do that. Take his feet and flip them around and peg them into place on the backs. Make sure the wings are folded up. Take the nose cone and flip that over the robot head. And then we kind of just go and do the basic transformation, except remove those bits. Take his arms and put them flush against the body. And then take the forearms and point them forward as far as they will go, like that. Then for these guys, we actually are going to fold up the little gray tabs, and these will drop down onto the robot chest and be pegged into place. Actually, not the chest, the nose cone. So they go like this. And then you could fold the arms up and kind of have them holding these bits. And then flip this thing out of the way, or you can. You don't have to. I choose to leave it in. One thing I forgot to show you is when you combine the legs, you want to make sure that this piston is connected in place, because if you don't, then it's going to get weird, or things are going to get a little weird. So then we will connect the fist to the bottom here. And for the connection, we actually use the fist that has the clip on it, and that will clip into that spot right there. And we're done. That's it. Next up is Overheat. And normally, according to the directions, you're supposed to leave him in robot mode in order to do the combination, but I like to do it from vehicle mode. It's just me. I think it's easier. So do a partial transformation where you unpeg the front of the motorcycle mode and you fold the wheels section forward, or the canopy section over the wheels. And then we want to reach inside the wheels and make sure that the feet are actually flipped all the way around. So up here, up top. And before we do that, we're actually going to take the motorcycle wheel and collapse the... So in order to do that, we will pull this section out and kind of get our finger in there for the other section. Just lift that whole section up. And this, as I've said, always feels like I'm going to break it. I really, really do feel like it's going to break. So grab this whole section, pull it as far as it'll go. And you see how I have it like this? Well, we want it to go all the way around. And that's a bit challenging, but doable. So we gotta get it like that. That's what we want. So we want the foot to be pointed out like that, and this peg to be pointed in. Then we can fold this section up. So we'll go ahead and do that on this side. Now that we've got that done, we'll split the legs open and grab the piston here, and just like Blindfire, fold it down and pull it out so that it connects to the knees. And then sandwich the legs together as best you can with getting the piston in between each knee. That will give it that articulation there. And primarily what it's doing is it's giving you a little bit of friction. Now for the top. So what we're going to do is first come to the top and pull out these sides like this and flip them all the way around. And then we could split the wheels and just fold one wheel up and one wheel down like this. And, whoop, I have it backwards. So we actually, nope, that's right. I had to turn around, but this is the wheel that we want pointing down. This is the wheel we want pointing up. And now all we're going to do is come here and add a hand, which I really should have done when I put the legs together. Now that we've got the hand in, the last thing we're going to do is grab his accessories, which are the missiles and the gun. First off, the gun is actually going to connect to the feet here. You see the feet are like this, and the gun will sit kind of like this while we peg the missile launchers in around it. So we want to actually use this one first, and then that will slide in over the feet into these holes here on the sides of the feet. So looks like we want to use this one because that's the way the holes are angled. Yes, that's the one we want to use, like so. And then we take the gun and it will point back up the arm like that. And then get this one and slide that one into place like so, and there we go. So we have missiles coming out from underneath his hand, and if he wants to, he can turn his hand like that and shoot you. So that's cool. Second arm, done. The third limb is Celeritus, and he forms a foot, and this is the absolute worst of all of them to get into a foot mode. To start off with, we need to make sure that we're going to be using the correct foot Remember I said that there are different feet for each bot. And unfortunately, neither one are labeled which goes with which. So you kind of have to guess based on when you get the guy into just about foot mode, you have to look and just see and if it'll connect. And I believe it's this one. Yeah, the fact that neither of these are labeled which goes with which is just incredibly annoying. It doesn't say if it's the left or the right. There's nothing on the unit that says what it's for. And like I just said, it's pain. And getting this guy into the correct mode or get him transformed correctly is also a major pain. So to start off with, you kind of have to just unpeg certain bits and just get them out of the way. And then with the rear of the vehicle mode, that just kind of slides down and gets out of the way. So we unpeg the middle and it will fold, or it should fold all the way down to the back of the vehicle mode. And like I said, this is not fun. This is just not fun at all dealing with this guy. This is probably my least favorite transformation in the entire set, because you're supposed to get the fists kind of like this. The problem is when you do this, you can't get this piece slid into the correct spot. So you have to disassemble it, move everything out of the way, slide him into place, and then reassemble it. So there's that annoyance. So we're going to unpeg that piece, flip the legs around like this, and kind of bend them down so that they are pointing down like that, and then turn these inner parts so that they are pointing towards the outside and fold them up. Now we can fold this guy up and lock him into place in the back there. That'll help us later. And so once we've got everything like this, and then fold these sections around like that, and then they will fold up like this and will then attach to the leg component up in here. And yes, I did choose the right one. So there are pegs and clips right there. So we come in here and we clip that into place like that. You heard it make a nice clip, and then we clip this one into place. And oh, silly me, I forgot to remove the wheel arches, or the wheel, part of the wheels. Because then, when we clip them into place, they can combine. Like that. And then we end up with the wheels kind of cemented together. And the one thing that I did forget is this upper torso is supposed to be turned around. So the rear wheels are supposed to be facing forward. And one thing I neglected to show you is this red piece is supposed to peg into this hole back here, and then this peg right here slides into that slot. Though, again, if you've got everything set up and situated correctly, it should just go in, but oftentimes it doesn't. And here we have the finished foot. The last bit of combination is to slide the tips of his toes up into that back. And these bits are supposed to be able to close up together, though it doesn't really work that well, so you just kind of have to fiddle with it. Then we could take the guns and put his guns and attach them to his sides like that. All right, we are done the third limb. Let's go ahead and get the last limb done. First thing we are going to do is take his, I guess these are lamps, and peg them into the foot. So for the drill tank, we need to make sure that the section back here with the actual combiner port is open and clear. Make sure that he's pretty well held together. Take the drill and fold it up so it's pointing up like that. And then these sections, there's little indentations here that you want to spread this section open just a little bit, and then those indentations will peg into this area right here. And just getting everything lined up on this one is a little tricky, because as soon as you move anything on the body of the drill mode, everything just likes to wiggle out of place. And there's an indentation here for this little bit of his hips as well. So you kind of want to just drop it straight down, peg that hip section in first, and then close the fronts of the drill tank over top. And just pray that everything stays together. And when you're done, you'll have a foot that looks like this. All right, time for the final combination. Now, one thing I neglected to show you here on the torso is this rear part with the wings actually slides up, and then we can turn the wing around and peg it into place right here on both sides. Because if you have these sections pointing or slid all the way down, you're not actually going to be able to slide the limbs on or the legs on. So just get those situated and in place. Then we can take the first limb and get that slid on. Grab the second limb, and this is what I was talking about earlier. You kind of have to just work with it to get that slid on, and then come in here and replace or retransform it a little bit. And you might hear that jiggling. That's because I put those extra wheel bits that we pulled off earlier into the foot, so we don't lose them. Then we could come around to the back and fold the feet down over the backs of those figures. And straighten everything out, get him some heels straightened out, and move on to the arms next. Next, we take these combiner ports and fold them down, and this actually requires quite a bit of force to get them folded down. Make sure those bits are down, and start attaching some limbs. And they do not go in very easily, but just a little bit of fiddling, and they will go on. And then, now that we've got all the limbs together, let's get with the accessories. Now these 4 cannon bits are all come with Metal Storm, and to combine them, first take one of the larger cannons and the scope. The scope will peg into the back of the cannon, and then the white gun will actually peg into the bottom of where you hold on, or hold the gun. And then this will peg into both of them like that, and you end up with this wicked giant cannon. And here's Quantron in all of his combined glory. He stands roughly 14 inches tall and even higher at the tip of the cannon. He looks really cool and is the only Technobot combiner that we've had in the last couple of years. He is very good looking, as I said. I actually do like the aesthetic of the set quite a bit. The problem is getting him transformed, as you saw, is such an exercise in frustration. And my fingers hurt. I'm frustrated. I'm angry-ish, kind of. And it's just not fun to combine this guy, but I can't argue with what we end up with. The figure that we end up with, Quantron, just looks absolutely fantastic. And he's highly posable, too. I'll be showing that to you in a second. Overall, I think MakeToys did a great job here. I just wish the figure was a little bit simpler and held together a little bit better. He is a little bit finicky in posability, and he's just back-heavy with the giant cannon. So there is that to consider. Plus, he doesn't fit on any of my shelves, really, which sucks. As you see, he is able to be posed pretty well. You do have to worry about these front skirts. They do flip open, so you can slide them back to get him to pose a little bit. But as you see, he is just a little bit finicky and top-heavy and fiddly. The other issue I have with the combined mode is that the knees don't lock into place, and I haven't been able to figure out if there's a way to lock those knees. And what I mean by that is the combiner figures, they will slide onto the knee sections, but they will not lock into place. So as soon as you go to bend the knee, they'll slide right off. And that's just a problem. That might just be a problem with mine. But I've been looking through the directions to see if I can find a way for them to lock into place, and they don't really, or at least mine don't. It appears that they should, and it also appears that there's supposed to be a little locking clip that flips up and locks them into place. That doesn't exist on either Sonic Drill or this other guy either, so that is a little bit of a problem. Nothing I can't work around, but it is annoying. Now, there is one other thing that we could do with this guy that is very interesting. That last thing that I was talking about involves this bad boy, this giant cannon thing. The first thing he can do is this piece slides open, and this will fit over his fist. So he can then act as this is just a giant gun. So it'll fit, slide over the fist, and he can act it as a giant gun. The other thing this thing does is it folds open into a rather large Energon bow and arrow. I mean, this thing's a good foot long, and it's ginormous. And I love it. I absolutely adore this little bit. It is detachable, though there are those two screws there. It just, I believe this is actually detachable. Yep, there we go. It is detachable, so he could technically have it or hold it another way. What you do is you peg these two pegs into the tops of the fists, and then have the other hand hold one of these pieces here. So I'll go ahead and get that set up for you. I have to admit, this is pretty darn cool. It's not perfect, and I'm not real great at posing him in this mode, or doing this, but it's very, very cool that they included it. And I'm really glad they did, because it's really freaking awesome. So gang, I hope you have enjoyed this look at the Quantron set from MakeToys. It's been a heck of a lot of fun doing these sets of reviews, and it's also been a lot of work, so I really thank you for staying tuned in to these reviews. As always, I am Baltmatrix, asking you to like, comment, and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up if you like it. Give me a thumbs down if you didn't. And as always, I will catch you next time.